Mom, he won't leave me alone.
Down somewhere?
Mom, he's picking on me.
If you know your party's extension, please dial it now.
Houston, we have a problem.
Sick of all this complaining all the time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Welcome back, everyone, to Multitasking in Heels. Whether you're listening to us in your car while you're making dinner, or if you're in the fetal position in your closet hiding from your kids, we're just happy to have you here. We're your hosts, Liz and Lindsey, and we're very excited to bring you guys our first guest today. Welcome to the podcast, Kristie.
Oh, thank you.
Kristie is a very good friend of ours who, in addition to, like most of us, is juggling kids, work, marriage, etc., also has a lot of personal experience with our topic today, which is what it's like to have a parent with Alzheimer's and what kind of care and decision-making goes into having a parent in that situation. But before we get into that, Kristie, as our guest, we would love for you to kick off our Pump and Flat moment of the week, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I'm super excited and super flattered that I'm the first guest. Okay, so my pump of the week, I would say I actually had a day off. Which
and for you, that's huge.
It was super exciting. I took a Wednesday off. I didn't check my email. I had a little date with my son to go get his skis and go to Cava, which I haven't been to since I was back in my office because it was convenient for me to go there, and now that I'm at home, I don't need to. No one missed me in the office, which was great, and it just, helped me change my focus for the week, I just felt like I had some tasks that I wanted to complete at home. I was able to get that done, and I just feel like during this time of, complete chaos, it settled me a little bit.
Yeah, did you have a reset mentally?
Yeah, totally. I slept a little bit later and did what I wanted to do, and it was awesome. So that was awesome. My pump. My flat of the week happened at the grocery store. As you both know, I hate food shopping. Food shopping and laundry are the two things that I actually despise as a wife and mother. And I only have one son, so there's that. So I go to Roach Brothers. I find it's a better shopping experience than some other places. And I also choose to go at a time when it's less crowded because people most of the time annoy me in the supermarket. And so I have now been going about 5 o'clock on Saturdays.
Oh, good
I know, I have really quite the social life you can't guess right now. So I'm, going by my business in the store, and I felt like at every turn there was someone in my way. They wanted exactly what I wanted in that aisle, and I was like, what the fuck? This is not what I had planned for today. And the funny thing is that, I literally was racing around the store, and I had no plans. I mean, we weren't going anywhere that night. I was racing home to make dinner for my family. I don't know why, but I guess it might have had something to do with it was good weather, and I think I wanted to use the grill for the last time, and I needed some daylight. And it was fleeting at 5 o'clock. So that was kind of my own fault. But while I was in this aisle, there was this elderly couple, and we know that I love the elderly. So this is why I felt like it was a flat moment, because I looked at the older gentleman with my mask on, and I gave him a little look, and he proceeded to acknowledge me and then turn back around to his cart, like I wasn't there or something, like I was just going to disappear and go away. And his wife, also a little older, and she was mobile, she was very slow, and so she turned to me and she said, "Oh, I must be in your way." And I said, no, take your time. Because, again, I'm nice.
Right.
Yeah. Then she just proceeded not to move. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to go. I'm going to go around you now.
Yeah.
And so as I was proceeding into that lane to go by her, because we know that it's one way now, as I was passing by, she said, "Oh, I see what it is. Take your time, but hurry up." And it just rubbed me the wrong way. Really? No, that's not what I meant. I just meant, could you please move so I could go around you and go about my business?
Common courtesy.
Then you are fully able to peruse the canned goods that you're looking at.
At your leisure.
Yeah, take same. Sure. And I felt like, no, I'm not taking this from an older woman. Like, no, that's not what I was saying. I was saying if you would just move just a little bit out of the way, I could get around you and you can go about your business. And so in that moment, I was just like, oh my God, this is why I hate food shopping.
And that's like a kind of moment, like it sticks with you for a while and you like just want it to go away.
Yes. And now in retrospect, I'm like, God, I was kind of salty to the old level. That's not who I want to be. So
Oh my gosh.
sometimes it's just keeping it in perspective.
Yes.
And you know what? There was no rush. So
I know.
that was my
That's
moment.
hysterical, Kristie. So my pump moment actually happened a couple weeks ago. By the time this airs, it will be several weeks ago, but I still wanted to talk about it because it was Halloween. And so in the days or a couple weeks leading up to Halloween, we didn't really know if kids were going to be able to trick or treat or whatnot. And then, found out that there's a safe way for the kids to do it. My kids were so excited to go. But of course, COVID Halloween, Mother Nature has to pull a vintage hold my beer moment and drop 4 inches of snow on us on October 30th. And it was freezing on Halloween.
Yeah.
But we're all excited. Like, we're so excited to do something that felt like normal and be out and whatever. So we took the kids trick-or-treating. We lasted all of 25 minutes until my daughter, who was dressed like a character from Disney's Zombies 2 movie, said, Mommy, my hands hurt so bad, I think they're going to fall off. And I was like,
Oh, did she have rain hands too?
no, I just didn't give her any gloves or mittens, and it was 25 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So,
don't know,
but Danny was complaining
you might
about
wanna
the
check-
kids.
You might want to check that out.
I know, you're right. But it was so nice to see everybody was out, like fire pits in their front yard or their driveway. They were so excited to see the kids. They're like, take as much candy as you want, happy Halloween. Like, everybody was just happy and in a great mood. And my kids got more candy in 25 minutes than they did in 2 hours last year. I mean, people were so generous. It was
It
crazy.
sounds like we live in 2 different towns because my street was not like that.
I didn't even put out any candy.
Oh my
Neither did
gosh.
No one ever comes to our house.
I know. We usually don't have people come to our house either because we don't have sidewalks or streetlights. But we've had more families move in recently, so I left a table at the bottom of the driveway with like little bags of candy, and some were gone when I got home. So I feel good about that.
We don't have sidewalks or streetlights, so it's a little dangerous.
Right. Yes, if so we go to the neighborhood behind ours, so our kids aren't at risk of getting run over.
Well, that's very good of
Yes. So that was my pump moment. My flat moment, ladies, and this is a tough one to admit. I finally broke down and I had to increase the font size on my phone for my texts and my emails. It was so humiliating.
Oh, dear.
I know. I know Kristie's face right now. She says, oh, now I feel even worse about it. I mean, it was so bad, and I don't even know. I just, at this point, I have reading glasses and chapsticks stored in like every room in my house. Ladies, if I start buying those like butterscotch hard candies like my grandma had, like, put me out to pasture. Tie me to a chair, leave me in the woods, and let the coyotes get to me, because it's not getting any better, okay?
Well, Kristie and I won't remember.
That's right. I'm going to have to ask someone else to do it. Oh my
Which
God.
is the topic of our
Right.
conversation, but we'll wait for that.
Yeah, so why don't you share, Linz?
Okay,
Your pump
so
and
my pump moment, when the chips are down, sometimes the universe works in mysterious ways. And I've just found, that friends and confidants and mentors and many supporters where you didn't think you'd know where you would find them. And so it's been really cool to get amazing supportive emails from people that you didn't think you would find, like either at work or from different people lately. It's been very weird. And your family will always be there, and you hope your friends will always be there. And I thank whoever for making us pick the daycare we picked and for putting you guys in my life, because it's a fierce and deep love that, we can't begin to be thankful enough for. And I know that a lot of people don't have that in their lives. Just getting reached out by people on like LinkedIn about jobs, or people reaching out about this podcast. Mm-hmm. And so it's just been really lovely, because especially in such like a dark 2020 time, it's just a nice, lovely little pick me up. And my flat moment goes hand in hand with this because I feel like I'm going through a midlife crisis. And it's not like I'm going to go find a hot girlfriend, buy a Corvette, and start wearing tight jeans and weird Hawaiian shirts. Because, one, I already wear tight jeans. Two, I can't afford a Corvette, and it's not very practical. And three, my husband is great and not the problem. I just feel like the year is purposely making us question everything. Like, what do you really want to do? Who do you really want to be? Where do you really want to be in life? And we're all too type A to just up and quit our jobs and be like, yeah, what do I want to do? And like we talked about on many occasions, we want to open a little store on the corner of our town. But on the same hand, like Liz said in our teaser about being a barista at Starbucks, I think that the first customer that came at me and complained about something that was ripped, I would look at them and say, what did you do to rip it? And so I'm not sure that retail is probably the best bet for me either. Anyways, I had to let that out, as I'm sure many people are feeling this way. And I did say midlife, but I'm not sure why, because, you know, we're only 34, so.
Forever.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's kind of why we started the podcast, right? Sort of sums it up that, you know, we're all sort of still searching for something, right?
Exactly.
Well, thank you for sharing, Lindsey.
Yes.
So let's get into our topic for today. So our generation has been deemed the quote-unquote sandwich generation, which is defined as adults with at least one living parent age 65 or older who are also raising a child or children younger than 18. And nearly half of American adults in their 40s and 50s fall into this category. So there's a lot of people out there, I think, that are going through what we're going to share today or will be going through it. For me personally, both my parents are, you know, they're in their 70s. They're relatively healthy. I'm very, very lucky. My dad, however, last April, beginning of COVID, fell and hit his head and fractured his hip, ironically, on his way into a hospital for a doctor's appointment. And he ended up being there for a week or so. I don't really remember how long. But anyway, he had to have a partial hip replacement. And during that time, obviously nobody could go visit him. My mother didn't really know kind of what was happening, had a hard time reaching the doctors, didn't really know what his plan would be for when he was ready to leave the hospital. They wanted to send him to a rehab. We obviously weren't comfortable with that because of COVID. And, you know, I'm lucky to have two sisters. We both live locally, or all three of us live locally. And, you know, so we can share in help and decision-making and things like that. And I remember talking to them and it's like, well, if dad's kind of out of commission for a period of time, you know, our mom has never paid bills before. My dad pays all the bills online. My mother's never done that. She wouldn't even know where to begin to do that. She's never she's gotten money out of an ATM. She's never pumped her own gas. Like there's certain things that she's never had to do. She's, you know, my dad does all the grocery shopping. So, you know, my sisters and I started to like make a plan of like who could kind of do what and help with what. And thank God my dad ended up coming home. He did his physical therapy at home, recovered. So there wasn't really a need for us to intervene, except I did get them set up on Roach Brothers to get their groceries delivered, which was a comedy in and of itself. He kept insisting he was hitting add to cart and the cart was empty. And I was like, Dad, that's not even possible. So I don't know what you're doing. But so, you know, again, it just brought to light, like, and the way I found out about my dad falling was, it was a work day. I'm on a conference call. My phone lights up. I see it's my mom on caller ID. I just hit straight to voicemail. I was working. And so I get off my conference call. I check my voicemail and it's Mom, please call me back. It's important. And I was like, someone's dead.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we're at that point where you get those phone calls, you just assume something terrible. So I call her back and it's ringing. She was obviously on the other line and I hang up, I call back, I hang up, I call. So finally I get in touch with her and she tells me what happened with my dad. But, you know, we're at that point now where, you know, that one fall I was worried, is that going to be it, you know, for my dad? And thank God, knock on wood, he, you know, came through his physical therapy. He's okay. But it just brings to light some of the things that at some point my sisters and I might have to deal with depending on how things go with our parents. So, so having said that, Kristie, I will turn it over to you to share your story with us.
Sure. Yeah. So my story with my mom really begins, she was 68 years old. It was 2007. So my son was a year at the time. I was also going through some health issues of my own. And, you know, my mom had been struggling with some depression after we lost my dad in 2001. Or like they grew up next door to each other, high school sweethearts, had been together for forever. So that was really traumatic for her. She's a nurse, and at that time she was working a private duty case, which she loved. It was caring for a young girl who had pretty severe issues like seizures, so just a lot of things. But like my mom just thrived in those types of environments and those challenges. So, I'm at this point where I really need my mom, and she's like not around. Like, I would make plans like, hey, can you come over? I have a doctor's appointment, or I have to do X, Y, and Z. And she'd be like, oh, of course, yeah, I'll be there. And then she wouldn't show up. And I'm like, wow, what the heck? Like, I don't understand. Like, is she having a hard time dealing with what's going on?
Yeah.
Or is it something more? And then it was like noticing other things, like a lot of sticky notes around the house, a lot of like being frazzled, a lot of mood changes, things that like, when you step back and look at the whole picture, you're like, oh, it all makes sense now. But when you're living in that moment, you're kind of like, what the hell is going on here?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it took me a little bit. And then I decided, you know what, Mom, why don't we go to the doctors and just, let's have a conversation and just to see what's going on. Because, like I said, she was suffering from some depression. And so like maybe this was the root of it. I don't know. So we talked to the doctor. The doctor said, he prescribed a different medication. And then he said, why don't we do a brain scan just to see if there's any abnormalities? He's like, it's probably not going to show anything. Don't even worry about it. Just check this off the list. And so we went and had it. And unfortunately, she did. She had a meningioma, which is, it's actually pretty common, but like, a lot of women do get meningioma. Oh. Typically, they're slow growing over time. So you could have one for like 20 years, and like people don't just usually have brain scans. So
you would never pick up on it.
But when it does reach a certain size, it can cause some issues. So obviously, because it's growing in your brain, depending on where it is, either in the front part, hers would happen to be in the back. And so anyway, they did recommend that we have that removed. So I was kind of thinking like, this is probably like what's been going on, right? Like, oh, okay, well, let's deal with this and move forward, and hopefully we're back to normal, Anyway, she did have the surgery. She was fine. It was benign. She recuperated with us at our house for probably about 4 or 5 months. He with her, and she could talk, she could walk, she could do all the things that I was like, oh gosh, when someone's cracking your skull and you're having brain surgery, like, how is she going to come out of this?
Yeah.
But she was fine, other than a few setbacks with some medication. She was allergic to a medication, and it did cause some setbacks. But other than that, like, physically, she seemed fine. Unfortunately, the memory just never came back. As much as we worked with OT, they would have her keep a book of things that she did that day, the date, the name of her children, grandchildren, and she would have to look at that every day. I mean, because it was weird in the fact that like she would go through the day, and then you'd be working with her on these things, and then at night it was just like an erase button, and then the next day it was the exact same thing over and over and over again, and so it just was this repetitive loop of like trying to know. I mean, she seemingly like knew who I was, of course, but like, it was just very strange. Like, she just had no recollection of the day prior.
Yeah. So it was like the short-term things she couldn't remember.
Correct.
But okay.
Yeah. Like, she could remember some things, like, and she would get upset about my dad, or, I mean, she could remember things from her childhood, things like that, like her parents. So anyway, she decided that she wanted to go back to her own house. Like, she really didn't want to be a burden on us. She felt like, she was kind of intrusive. I mean, we were a young married couple. We had a 1-year-old son. We had a lot of stuff going on our own. And she was kind of like, let me go back to my house and my cat and, whatever. And so I was kind of like, I didn't really feel comfortable because she was going to be by herself. Although I only lived 10 minutes from her. So, at the time it was like, I would just, set her up for her groceries, and I still maintained all of her medications, so I would do those morning and evening, and she was capable of like getting her breakfast and things like that. I would, take her out for lunch or go over there for lunch, and then back to our house for dinner, and then at the end of every night I would bring her back home. And we did that for a long time. So as a part of her brain surgery, though, they took her license away, basically. And so a funny story in light of all of this is that after the surgery, they said, well, if you want to get your license back, you can go to Spalding Rehab and they have a simulator. And so, she's like, we're going. So we go over there one day. She takes the test and she fails. And if you ladies knew my mother, well, similar to me, she does not take no for an answer in these situations. And so she's like, well, what else can I do? And they said, well, you could apply and have a called adaptive driving, and it's a road test.
Like a real road test?
Real road
Like
test.
the 16 and a half year olds do or whatever.
Exactly. So she's like, sign me up. So sign her up. And that day
Were you concerned?
Totally. I did
God.
not want her to get her, I didn't want her to be on the road again. And I kept saying to her, like, you know, as a nurse, you know that this is probably not in your best interest or other people on the road. And like, what are we doing here? Like, I can pick you up. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
She probably didn't want to lose her independence.
She did, right? Like, I think she was also struggling with that. Like, she wasn't working anymore.
Right.
So that was like a whole other thing of her identity, right? And now not being able to drive. So I went over to the house the day of the test, and as soon as the car pulled in the driveway and the older gentleman stepped out, I said to myself, she's going to get her test here. She's going to get her license back today. Not a problem. Because my mom is an attractive, very self-assured, charming woman. And so I knew that guy would be eating out of the palm of her hands.
Oh my God.
At the end. And I was right. She pulled back in the driveway and she hopped out and she said, I passed. No problems here. I'm like, oh my God. This is like my worst nightmare.
Right?
Yeah. And my mother also, I mean, if you saw a picture of her, you'd be like, no freaking way. My mother drove a school bus when I was a little kid. My dad had lost his job, and my mother was like, "Oh, you've got 5 kids, and
we gotta
do something here." And
she
hadn't worked before, and so it was actually really funny that she ended up doing that. And my father was like, "There is no way you're going to drive a school bus." Again, kid you not. My mother's like, I certainly will.
I know where you got your your gumption now.
Yeah. So anyway, so she got her license back, and she did fine, for a little bit with it, and it was just local driving, and she just literally wanted to go to the supermarket and go to the bank and do a couple little things, go to Marshall's, call it a day. But it's nerve-wracking. That your parent is out there and they are having some issues, and she had a brain surgery, and it's like, if you ever got into an accident, like that's the first thing that someone would look at. Like, it's scary.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we did survive it. And then, so we kind of lived in the state for a while, a few years of just like me kind of like maintaining her meds and helping her out as best I could. And then I did end up going back to work. So it just became a little bit more challenging. My son went to daycare. I enrolled my mom in an adult day program to kind of keep her busy. I'm just like kind of like shuffling and trying to figure this all out as best I can. And so it just kind of came to the point where we wanted to downsize her house because she just like couldn't maintain it on her own. And I really just didn't have the time or wherewithal to kind of do all of that in my regular life too.
Yeah.
So we moved her to a 55 plus community with the thought of 1 floor living, kind of like college for adults, socialization, things like that. And so that also worked okay for a little bit. My mom was just like still a huge part of my life, and that was fine. Like, I did enjoy that aspect of it. What started to become challenging was like the conversation and the repetitive, and it was just the loop. What are we doing today? And where are we going? And what about this? And what about that? And it's just that same conversation repeated like 100 times. And by, the 100th time that day, I'm like, I don't fucking know.
It's going to be so hard not to get frustrated and lash out and all that.
Right. And it's like, they can't help it.
Right. They can't.
So, I started then to try to make light of it.
Yes. No,
I
then
make
you make
stuff
up. No, that's
Right, yeah.
exactly it. You start making up different stories.
Oh, wow.
After, like, you go through the spurts of being super frustrated, and then once you get over that hump, then you just start having fun with it, and you make.
That's probably like a coping mechanism for
is.
you guys, right?
It is,
Like,
Totally.
and then you just
otherwise you're
start
gonna
like.
die.
You just start making up like hilarious like jokes. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you they went to the moon, or I mean, serious.
Yeah, I know, but it's a way that you can cope with it and
Mhm.
deal with it in that moment.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's just
You're gonna
really
rip your hair out.
exasperating. Yeah, you're like, oh my god, I can't do it anymore. So, and the other part for me was like that my dad had already passed, and so I really, I fulfilled that role. I'm the youngest of 5, and by a lot. Like the first 4 are all 2 years apart, and then there was 10 years. And I like to say the miracle happened. But, my mom wasn't planning on having a child, so let's be honest here. And so, but after my dad passed, like, I stepped into that role of her person for her. And good, bad, or
Different.
indifferent, I guess. Yeah. I was her caregiver. I was her healthcare proxy. I'm her power of attorney. I was in charge of making some really tough decisions for her. One of which was ultimately, she's been in a facility, her second facility now for a total of 5.5 years. She's been nursing care. Like, that is just the hardest decision you ever have to make, because you're struggling with like, well, I can do it. I can, she can live with us. And we even thought of like, building a house with an in-law or, it's like you start thinking like crazy things that you want to do because you don't want to send your parent away. No one can care for your parent like you can. Unfortunately, it just becomes a reality that you just can't. Like, my mom started reaching the point where she didn't want to go to bed at a normal hour. She was like awake all night. If she was staying at my house, she would wander into our bedroom. Like, we'd be like, all of a sudden I'd be like, Mom. And that's a little weird when your husband is asleep next to you, you know? So it's like things like that. Or she just would be confused. Like, why am I here? What, why can't I go home? It was time. Like, I couldn't be awake all night, and I couldn't be awake during the day and functioning and doing what I need to do for my family and for work and get it all done. So we ultimately did make that choice. It was brought on because I actually was called by the police. She had wandered one night from her building into another building, and she was very confused and upset, and it was scary. And literally after I got the call, I raced over there. I got her. She never went back. So it was just like, I wasn't going to take any chances. I didn't want to.
Her safety.
Yeah.
Is at risk.
Absolute safety. So she's been in a facility now, and the first one that we chose did it because it fit her needs. She was younger, she was very mobile, she was still active, she just couldn't remember anything, but like she would play bingo and she would, do the arts and crafts and do the painting projects and all that stuff. And so it was a little bit further away for myself and for my siblings to get there. Certainly as often as I would have liked. I was only able to go in once a week and visit with her. I would go in and do nails, and I would do her hair and do her makeup because I know that she would have wanted that. Chin hair, because even though we don't like to admit it, we all have it. And her eyebrows. I actually joke with my son that I hope he marries a girl that won't mind doing these things for her mother, because I know that it's important to me as well.
Yes.
So maybe if it's not his wife, they're gonna have to hire a beautician to come in and help me, because I just don't want to sit there and not have craziness on my face, crazy eyebrows, crazy chin hair, whatever. So I would go in, and it was cathartic for me too, because she used to kind of do that for her mom. Her mom had Alzheimer's as well.
Oh, wow.
And so, it was just I didn't understand why she was doing it for her mom at the time, really. And then once I started doing it, I was kind of okay. I want her to look like she always looked.
Right, yeah.
And what I know she would want. She was always pretty particular. And so I do that. It's been challenging now because of COVID, not being able to get in to see her to do those things. I can see her now. I've been trying to go in once a week because they've opened it up for visitors just for half an hour. But at least I get to physically see her and know that she's clean
Right.
and taken
Well
care
taken
of.
care of,
yeah.
She's closer to me now. It's smaller, and I know she's getting like the care that she needs.
Mhm.
So that's good. But it's hard because she's also progressed further in this disease process where, there's no conversation.
Yep.
Mhm.
She has no idea who I am. The masks certainly don't help, but
Right.
there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So it's devastating to kind of watch your parent.
Yep.
You're watching them slip away.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like we had, in retrospect now, such a good run of time with her.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And now it seems like it's getting she's more rapidly going
Decreasing.
down.
Mhm.
Which is hard to watch.
I'm
It
sure. I'm sure. And so when you visit her, do you tell her kind of what's been going on in your life and what's going on in your son's life and just,
Yeah, definitely. I try to. I will say, like, I just went Friday.
like, wait,
Yeah.
what's
What is
today?
today?
I mean, honestly, there are days
COVID calendar.
Yeah.
today that I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going. I actually said to her on Friday, Mom, I might be in the bed next to you very soon because stupid shit that I've been doing lately. Like, I found the carrots in like the catch-all drawer. Like, what was I doing? Like, hopefully I was in a rush that day, but like that stuff
Kristie,
scares me.
I'm right there with you.
Yes.
Right there with you.
Hopefully we have a nice suite together.
I-
that would be
I'll
awesome.
come visit you guys.
Liz,
I will
you can
cut the tree. Yes.
You've got to promise that you put us together. And,
Absolutely.
And make us look nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That would be
I
so
can't
helpful.
Because
Count
it
on
might
men.
be sooner than later.
I know. Like that's
It's
actually
very no. It literally is really concerning me.
yeah.
And
Me too. Fog.
the brain fog. They say it's COVID, but we also have some strikes against us in
Mhm.
the genetic gene pool.
Yes, for sure.
Yes, I appreciate you sharing all of that
Yeah.
with us because I know how hard it is, and you've obviously helped me through this because you started your journey much earlier than my journey started with this, as closer to home, because my papa on my mom's side, so her dad had it, and I was younger, so I kind of didn't know really what it was, but knew that he was confused and, kind of difficult to go on that path and figure that out as a kid, but that he would always get me confused with my mom and my uncle. And so I was like, well, what is that? What is that?
And as a kid, that must be really just weird and kind of
It
uncomfortable.
was. And yes. And my brother and I would always be like, oh, we just had a really good conversation with Papa. And then all of a sudden he would call us by my mom and my uncle's name.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would be like, okay, that was really weird. My dad started showing mild signs of memory loss for probably 14 years, maybe longer. But all of us, had that, like you said, brain fog.
Yeah.
And especially, having it in both sides of the family. Kristie and I always talk about how we're more aware of it. And I've talked to my doctor about it, and she just keeps saying, well, you have a stressful job, you have a lot going on, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like, do we need to do a PET scan on my brain? Like, we should be checking this out now. It wasn't until my dad started, repeating himself on loops, as Kristie was saying, and asking the same questions every few hours that we knew something was way more serious. And it took some time. It's a gradual climb, I guess, to see it. We didn't have the tumor issue, but it took more time to figure this out, but we knew some of the signs because of my papa. The other thing we were also wondering about was it CTE possibly for my papa and my dad, because CTE being chronic traumatic encephalitis caused by repeated traumatic injuries of the head that's more studied now from football injuries. And they've been studying it even more, that after football players have been showing signs of early onset Alzheimer's or dementia, and now we know it's CTE, but they can diagnose it by PET scans. And it's tough because the tangles that are present in Alzheimer's are also present in CTE, but in CTE, they are found more near the small blood vessels. But experts have linked CTE can bring about early onset Alzheimer's. So until they do more studies to see if it's how you can really separate it and if it's genetic in your genes, or if my 2 cases in my family were CTE first, we don't know. So now we sit and wonder, my brother and I, if we're genetically predisposed on both sides or on one side, or if it's just a fluke because they got pummeled too much in football.
Right.
My papa playing in Rose Bowls for USC with those leather helmets.
Oh my God.
Right. Oh my God.
Leather helmets. You know, like that's awesome.
Sure.
And my dad playing for University of Utah in 2 Liberty Bowls. Just like you said, Kristie, I mean, so many people had these exact same stories of how my mom for the last couple of years is literally sitting with my dad, and it's like she's been in a prison taking care of my dad because you never want to put your loved one in these places. You don't. But it got to a point where he would follow her around everywhere she went, every single place, even to the bathroom, because he just didn't know where she was going. And they have stairs in their house, and his mobility is horrible. And so he would start to slip or fall, and he's a big guy. And I mean, he's shrinking, and he also started to stop eating. So those are also 2 other signs that our other friend's dad started showing. My mom was just trying to keep up the best she could, but she also couldn't go anywhere. The whole car situation, he had his license until my brother and I finally told my mom, you have to take it away from him, because the moment he drives through the post office, because he only was going from the condo to the post office, which is literally a straight line. And it's like a mile line. But I said, and she goes, you know, it's their independence, it's their everything. And I said, the moment he drives through the post office, you will be sued for your life, Ryan's life, and my life. Like, it is not worth it. And she's like, you're right. And I was like, hide the keys. He won't remember. Like, here's the positive about Alzheimer's and dementia. Yeah. He won't remember. Got it taken away by the doctor, by his regular doctor and his neurologist. And she also hid the keys from him anyways. So thank God that went down okay without anything happening, like you said. Right. But, oh my God. Like, that was scary enough for a couple of years of like, am I going to get a call?
Yeah.
Labor Day weekend, this Labor Day, 2020, just 2020.
Hits keep on coming.
It was very early in the morning, and my house phone rings. Yes, we still have a house phone because if you have a security system, you have to have a house phone. And it said my mom's name, which she's the only person that still calls besides spammers. And she's on the West Coast. So if it was very early on the East Coast, so like you, Liz, I'm like, my dad's dead. Yeah. I start freaking out. I couldn't get to the phone fast enough, but my cell phone was right next to me. So I picked it up ready, assuming she was going to call that next. She did. She's bawling. So I'm like, yep. And she's like, I can't do this anymore. So I knew that was the next thing. And I said, and she kept apologizing. And I said,
gosh.
Don't apologize. You made it a lot farther than we thought you would. I said, it is what it is. This is the disease. As they always say, it's much harder on the caretakers than it is the actual person because they're not there anymore. Spiritually, there is a lady that a few of us have visited that is a Reiki spiritualist, and she has told me that my dad has already crossed over and that he's not here anymore. And that actually helps me a lot with this whole thing.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And that he is already on the other side with his dad, my grandfather. And that he's only remaining here still because either my mom needs something else from him, or he hasn't learned his last lesson or whatever. And so I'm like at the point where I need my mom to just be like, let him go.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the last piece of it.
Yeah.
And because he is not here, he consistently doesn't know where he is. It is so sad. He calls her, she visits him. So she's 10 minutes away from him. She visits him 4 to 5 times a week for like 3 hours at a time. And an hour later, he'll call her and he doesn't even remember she was there.
Oh, wow.
And he starts crying and is like, where am I? He thinks he's in a completely different state than she is. Like, he thinks he's in like no man's land. And then he's like, when am I going to get out of here? He doesn't know why he's there. Half the time he thinks it's for like alcohol abuse because he used to be a drinker a long time ago, but he gave that up when my son was born. And so it's been a long time that he has been free from that demon. And it's just like torture upon torture.
Yeah. It's going to be so hard for your mom because she's almost like grieving his loss, but he's still here.
Yes.
And she's got guilt, and it's got to be really hard for you to figure out how you support her, but
Right.
you're dealing with it too emotionally.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And my brother is too, and it's horrible.
well, thank you for sharing your stories, ladies. I'm sure a lot of people out there will find it very helpful. Should we lighten the mood a tad?
Please.
Yeah.
We will now transition into our What's in the Box segment. I'm happy to go first. So my What's in the Box actually didn't happen this week. I will admit, ladies, it happened over the summer, but I thought it was funny. So I was like, fuck it. So when we realized over the summer that we would be going nowhere ever,
Yeah.
I frantically ordered a bunch of stuff online to try to like entertain my children outside. Like we got the fire pit. I went on Amazon and ordered like slip and slides, more wiffle balls, what are those things called? Bubble wands. Yes.
Yeah.
Bubble wands, blah, blah, blah. Water balloons, everything. And ordered hula hoops, blah, blah, blah. So all this stuff. So over the course of the week, everything comes except for the hula hoops. They are back ordered until eternity because they are apparently manufactured off of some island off the coast of who knows where.
Yeah.
So I forget about them. Weeks go by and we get an Amazon package in the mail and I open it and it's 2 clear plastic bags and inside the bags are these multicolored plastic parts. And I'm like, what did Danny order? And so I'm like, hun, what are these? And he goes, I don't know. I didn't order those. I said, I didn't order them. And so I go and look in our Amazon order history, but I only went back like a week or two. And I was like, well, there's nothing in our order history. And he's like, oh my God, I totally heard all about this. It's a total scam where people order cheap shit from Amazon and send it to you. And then they put up all these fake reviews about it. I go, really? That's a thing? And I'm like, so naive. I mean, you could scam me so easily, ladies. And so he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm going to go do some research. And so it didn't come with like a packing slip. And I said, so we can't even return it. So he goes on, he spends like an hour and a half, guys.
Well, good.
Like,
It's not your time.
like, exactly. Like looking, like Googling Amazon scams, fake reviews, blah, blah, blah. Trying to find an address where we can ship these plastic things back to. He's like, you can't even return anything to Amazon. There's no address. He's like, what are we just supposed to do with these things? And I was like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't look like we got charged for them. They're in our order. They're not in our order history. And so then I just forget that he's like still sleuthing away here, trying to figure out what to do. And I'm in the other room making lunch. She goes, hun, did you order hula hoops? And I go, Oh my God, they're hula hoops. Like they came in like pieces.
And you had to put them together.
You had to put it together. He was so pissed, you guys. He's like, I just spent an hour and a half trying to figure out if we were getting scammed or not and trying to figure out how to send these things back to Amazon.
You basically did get scammed.
Yes.
Because you have to put them together.
Yes.
That is so
Right?
weird, though.
It was bizarre. I mean, I just naively, again, assumed they would come intact. But they came in these individual pieces where you would never know that once constructed would make a hula hoop. Yeah.
You should have let me know, Liz, because I have a bunch of hula hoops.
Do you?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were a big hula hooper, Kristie.
No, it's
Fun fact.
You know, they do say for exercise, it is a good workout.
I can't do it.
But
I try.
I can't
No,
either.
I'm so awkward. I
I
can't do anything.
can't either.
that's not why I have them. I have them for, I did like a Olympics, not an Olympics.
I'm playing
Like, what is going on here?
I did the Olympics. No, I did like for one of Jack's birthday parties. It was like,
Oh,
what do you
okay.
call it? Obstacle course.
Obstacle course,
Oh,
okay.
dear God.
Oh, Jesus. Ladies.
Oh, no. It's going to happen.
Word searching is, sounds like,
I know. It's like this. This is what I'm trying to get to.
Please
Sounds
help me
like.
get there. Yeah. So, anyway, Liz,
Oh,
I
I
have
should
like
have
5
known.
of them.
Oh my God. Yeah. So he was so mad at me for like the rest of the day. And I'm like, sorry.
That's terrible. I love it.
All right. What do you have, Kristie?
Okay, so in my cart currently is a bottle of Wink.
Ooh, sounds
Don't-
sexy.
Do
Like-
not.
Is it like a wing?
Meow.
No.
Like, it looks like it's something in your eye.
I know. Smell it.
It is WHINK.
Oh,
not
okay.
the actual Wink.
Okay.
So a few years ago, this is a long time in the making. A few years ago, my brother-in-law was dating this woman, and she came to the house for Thanksgiving. We're all excited to meet her, and she was nice. She made a fantastic salsa, by the way, so
Ooh.
I do miss that. But anyway, I digress. So she was like, "Oh, you have such a lovely home." I'm like, "Oh, great, thanks. You know, would you like
Small
some,
talk, yeah.
potatoes?" She goes to the powder room, and she comes back out, and she goes, "So I don't know if you have someone that cleans the house, or if you do it yourself, but I used to clean houses, and you should really try Wink because it removes those rust stains that you have on your counter." Rust stains on my counter? Like, who the fuck says that?
Like, you're a guest in someone's home for Thanksgiving.
Oh my God. Even if I noticed it, I wouldn't say a word. So now during COVID, you start noticing stuff
I
around
know,
your
it's
house,
true.
right? And so
Because you're
it's like,
stuck in it so much.
yeah.
All right, well, you'll have to let us know if it does the trick.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be a rust stain remover. She swears by it. And I will let you know, ladies.
Oh my God.
So I think it's
Sexy
hilarious that you remember this like years later, and you're
Right.
like, "What should I do?"
You're like, oh, that's salsa.
Oh, Wink. That's what I need. I can add that to the Amazon cart this week. Amongst the tunic and
Well,
whatever else I'm purchasing.
That's exactly.
All right, you want to bring us home, Linz?
Sure. Well, you ladies got me hooked on, I don't even know if I'm saying this right, koala leggings.
Oh, yeah.
Colorful koala. Yes. The best.
Liz told me about them first, and then Kristie brought it home and sold me when she said they're like butter.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, I don't want to undersell Spanx because we all love our
Yes.
Spanx.
Yes, for sure.
But these things are like $25, ladies.
Yep.
$25.
They're awesome.
Lots of
And-
colors.
Yep.
Love the camo.
Love the camo.
Oh my gosh. But they are so soft and so comfy. Like
Yes.
butter. Like you
Yeah,
said.
just like butter.
I see. And so I finally, after you said that, after our walk, when I hiked in
And booties.
I bought 2 pairs and I do not regret it whatsoever. Best $25 I've ever spent.
Totally.
So there you go.
So glad you did.
Yeah.
I know.
But it was really funny because I forgot about it and because we buy stuff
So
on Amazon.
much.
So I get this package on Amazon, and I open it up, and I was like, and it's a little teeny tiny thing. And I was like, what the fuck? And I opened it up, and I still didn't know because it was like plain black ones. And the camel ones came in a separate package with like probably, weird stuff, my Mr. Clean erasers and some other stuff. And I was still like, did someone get another gator mask? Like, and I'm unwrapping it, and I was like, oh, my leggings.
Yes. Yeah.
So, very excited. So, to close it out, if you're feeling a little blue this week, and Friday the 13th was just another normal Friday in 2020, you've survived another week, my friends. We're so close to 2021. So turn up the Snoop Dogg and drop it like it's hot, because this last week was a hot pile that we can leave behind as we dance it away, down dog or namaste it out, or put our fine heeled shoes or flat feet up. Go hug your pet and do one little thing for yourself that would make a huge difference, because self-care prevents wear and tear. So do it and don't feel guilty. You already do so much. Thank you for listening. Check us out on iTunes and Spotify, where you can rate and subscribe. It helps people find us, and we like people finding us. We are on Instagram, Facebook at Multitasking and Heels, and we also have a website you should check out. So thanks for listening. Kristie, thank you for being a guest.
Kristie, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody.